I'm gonna plan for you, like where you're coming.
One enemy remaining.
Coming back to you so we can play together. Come back straight.
Just blind.
I'm gonna swing on flash, okay? Hey guys, quickly before the video starts, you can see I've been absolutely destroying my opponents in Immortal 1 with 20 to 30 plus kills and often match MVPing. I now feel super confident in my ability to help you guys improve from whatever rank you're in to a higher rank through coaching. If you want coaching from me, please reach out to my Discord. It's Duckeeh. It's also down in the description below. Add me, I'll message you back quickly, and we can plan a coaching session. Enjoy the video. Hey guys, so in today's video, I'm going to be teaching you how I got back to Immortal from low Ascendant in less than 1 week of playing competitive, and I'm going to give you some tips on how I did that and also how I did it so quickly. So the first tip is Deathmatch and aim trainers. So I actually haven't really been using aim trainers as much, but this is like kind of an alternative if you don't love Deathmatch, which I completely understand if you don't love Deathmatch. I don't personally love it, but I also see its inherent value and effectiveness in improving your aim and mechanics. So I play Deathmatch or Team Deathmatch for roughly about 30 minutes. If you really want to improve rapidly, I would recommend 30 minutes per day. It can feel like a lot, but set a timer. It's usually about 4 deathmatches. And if you prefer Team Deathmatch or Deathmatch, and guys, let me explain really quickly why Deathmatch is actually so useful or so effective in enhancing your aim and other mechanics like crosshair placement or peeking. It's because of the sheer number of enemies that you're fighting, okay? So think about when you're in a comp game. Whenever you're fighting enemies in a comp game, how many do you fight per game, right? You might fight a lot, but it's actually over a much longer period of time. So basically the parts of your brain that are responsible for aim and crosshair placement are going to be developing much slower than if you were to play Deathmatch, where you're taking fights much more rapidly. You're dying much more, obviously, and it can be very frustrating, but you're like basically accelerating this process of enhancing your aim, your crosshair placement, the way that you peek, and all the other things that go into aiming. And if you want those specific things, by the way, let me know in the comments and I'll gladly make a video on them because I'm back. I'm joining my esports team at school. Anyways, so play Deathmatch. If you don't love Deathmatch, I understand. You can play aim trainers. There are videos I have and other YouTubers have on things like aim labs, Kovacs, if those are your preference, or you can do both. But I would highly recommend if you're stuck or if you're just coming back to Valorant after a break, you do at least one of these for especially like 30 minutes per day, or even just like 15 minutes per day will still be huge for you. The next tip, guys, is stop letting your emotions dictate whether you win, okay? So what I mean by this is, for me, at least, at points get angry at the game, and then that I can see how that can negatively influence my gameplay, and I start playing worse. And I'm sure a lot of you can relate with this, and I'm sure a lot of you can relate with other kind of emotions that might negatively influence your gameplay. So for example, you might have a toxic teammate or a thrower or someone who you think is throwing, or you might just have like a bad teammate, right? So you might start to engage in an argument with this person instead of what you should do, which is mute them and not give them your emotions or your attention, and you should give the game all of your attention, right? Because how are you going to win is by giving the game and your gameplay and what you're doing, what your team is doing, and how the enemy team is playing all of your attention, instead of just arguing with someone who really doesn't care about winning the game as much as you do, because you're here watching this video right now. So there's also other emotions you might run into, again, like you might have teammates who are not listening. You might feel like hopeless because your team has no mics, your team's not listening to the comms you're making, and you just kind of give up. But again, guys, stay focused, keep your eyes on the prize, which is winning each round until you win the game. This also ties into our next tip, which is play to win. So always play to win, even if your teammates are not, it feels like your teammates are not listening, even if it feels like they don't have mics or whatever, or even if you have toxic teammates. Always play to win, do your best, and over time, what's going to happen is if you're doing Deathmatch, you're doing aim trainers, you're doing, you're not letting your emotions dictate how you play. What's going to happen is you're just going to end up carrying rounds, you're going to carry games, and it's going to be automatic, because Deathmatch and aim training, these things are like, it's going to make your baseline aim and like gameplay just super good, if that makes sense. So like you're going to be better than everyone else in your game if you're a little patient and you're consistent. So play to win. It's easier said than done sometimes, but these are really important tips. And the last tip, which I think is very, very valuable, very, very important, and you guys have probably heard me say this before, is comms with your team. And the reason I'm saying this now is because it's something I've really, really noticed that I've been using personally, and that people even in Ascendant and Immortal don't do to the extent that I do. And so I think that my comms are actually a higher level than where I'm at now, even though my mechanics might not fully reflect that. Is comms with your team, okay? So communicate effectively, right? And so what do I mean by this? This is kind of like a broad statement or a broad term. Communicate effectively with your team means, to me, at the start of each round, instead of like posing a question to my team like, hey guys, do you want to go A? Do you want to go B? I say, let's go B, guys, or let's go A. I don't even often give it a rationale. Sometimes I do. It's like sometimes like, oh, we don't have a Sova to shock the trips on B, so let's go A, guys. Or, but you don't have to usually give a rationale. And you're doing two things by actually doing this. Is one, by saying let's go A, you're testing to see if your teammates are actually going to listen to you. And by the way, most games they will, except for lower elo. Sometimes maybe they won't. But in my games, like I would say like 80 to 90% of the time, my teammates actually listen and they come to me even if they don't say anything. So they're at least going to give me 1 or 2 shots to see if my strategy or whatever works. And again, this doesn't have to be like super in-depth, pro-level, high-level tier plans. All you have to say is, let's go A, let's go B. Because the alternative might be your whole team spread across the whole map, running it down and taking a bunch of 1v1s, compared to going in one side of the map together and actually taking trades. And this is going to be really, really valuable in lower ranks like silver, gold, plat, even diamond, because people don't usually play together unless there's a conscious effort to do so. At least in a lot of games, right? So that's one way comms can be really important. That's by the way, I'm only talking about right now before the round starts. All this can be done before the round starts. So if you're like, oh, Duckeeh, I can't multitask. Well, you're not multitasking. You just have to buy and then tell your team where to go. Let's go A, let's go B, let's go mid, whatever, right? And as you get better at this, as you get more comfortable communicating with your teammates and telling them where you want to go and where you want to push together, it's going to actually be easier it's going to be more natural is the right word, to communicate during the rounds, okay? So during the rounds, whenever you are, for example, attacking or defending, there's going to be things that are happening and you're going to be aware of them in your head, but it's really important to know what things to say to your team, right? Because like, for example, if the enemies are planting the spike, and even in my games in Ascendant, the spike will begin being planted and I'll still have like a teammate over on the other side just sitting there because they don't know that the spike's being planted, and no one on my team is saying that they're planting the spike, right? So say that, because if people in Ascendant are not saying, oh, the spike's being planted, people in Silver are probably not saying that either. So say that to your team. That's like a very simple example. You can say Raze has ult, Raze might ult in here, at least 3 here is, like, I love to say how many people I hear, how many footsteps I hear, at least 3 be main, maybe some tiles or something like that, right? But only say things you either hear or you see. If you don't hear or see things, don't make shit up, right? You can't just be like, oh, I think there's like 4 here, but there's actually just like 2, because then whenever they push 3 A main, your teammate's going to be kind of mad. So keep that in mind. But these are the most important things, guys. Just a quick recap: deathmatch / aim trainers, whichever one you like, or both, for like 30 minutes per day is going to really, really help, and it's going to pull you out of wherever you're stuck at after some time. Don't let your emotions dictate whether you win. Play to win, and use comms with your team. Anyways, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Please leave a like, comment, and subscribe. If you have any questions or ideas for future videos, put those down as well in the comments, and I'll see you in the next one very, very soon. Peace.